Yeah, may I request Mr. Rafiq to make his presentation?
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to come to Pune. I think the last time I came was in 1990, and it's been last 14 years. The last time I came was as an internal audit of a finance company. And since 1990 to 2004, I think there have been a lot of changes. Mr. Deepak has spoken quite a lot about the impact of technology, the emerging trends of technology, and how technology is going to change, revolutionize the way you live and breathe and think. There's one critical factor which I think we need to always remember. What's in it for me? As auditors, I think we need to know and ask always the question, what's in it for me? What is that I can do with this emerging technology? Currently, if you say the way technology is being used, it's like a farmer in Texas once became all of a sudden rich and he didn't know what to do with all his wealth. So he bought the most expensive items. So he bought the most expensive bungalow, he got most expensive car, most expensive horses. The problem with him was he used to put on his most expensive suit and display his wealth. He used to go around the village in his Mercedes. And while driving the car, while going in the car, he used to meet people because he was a very famous man. Because of his wealth, he had become very famous. He used to meet people on the right-hand side. He used to wish them, talk to them. He used to see people on the left-hand side, talk to them. There are some people who wished him from the back. He used to turn and talk to them. All the while driving the car. But he never caused an accident. Can you take a guess why? Now the problem with this old man was, he bought the most expensive car, but he didn't know how to start the car. So what he did was, he bought 5 of the most expensive horses and put the horses in front of the car. The car was physically pulled by 5 horses, which means the power of the car was 5 HP, whereas the engine probably might be having more than 100 HP. Quite often if you ponder over the way we use computers as chartered accountants, I think our fate is no different. We use computers more as glorified typewriters. We get fascinated by technology. I remember I have been talking about information systems audit and IT audit since 1992. There are times when we used to have program in Bangalore, and there are many times programs had to be cancelled because half of the organizers, there would be 4 or 5 people, and out of that 2 of them would be organizers. But if you have anything on information, income tax, there used to be a big crowd. Now I find that, okay, there seems to be a big difference. It's like Swami Chinmananda has said, there are 4 stages of learning. The first stage of learning is, I don't know that I don't know. The second stage is, I know that I don't know. The third stage is, I know that I know. And the fourth stage is, I don't know that I know. As far as income tax is concerned, I think income tax or audit is concerned, probably we are in the 3rd or 4th domain. We know what we know, and some of the aspects pertaining to income tax has become a part of our internal system. Now, if you read the Income Tax Act, there are people who can immediately find out what is the loophole, what exactly can be done to break that law. So it becomes a part of their internal thinking. The same thing if you take information technology, I think there's a big gap. We get fascinated by information technology, but at least I think with the ESA course, it has raised the awareness. I think we have awakened from the ignorance of being ignorant and know that we don't know. And I think it's good to see that so many people coming and attending a IT conference, because it shows that you want to move to the 3rd stage where you say, yes, I want to know how to know. That's what that I think is very, very important. It said once a successful businessman had a residence very nearby, so he had to take a walk to his place of office. And while he was walking from his house to his office, he used to come across a shop which was selling monkeys. And the monkeys, are generally very, very chirpy. They keep on moving around. So these monkeys were kept in cages. So when this guy was walking around, he found always the one monkey which was trying to attract this businessman's attention. Initially he ignored, but after some period of time he found he could not ignore. So he found the monkey was making a signal like this. This guy didn't know what the monkey was trying, because he didn't know what is monkey language. But it became a habit for him. Every time before he used to go to his office or coming back, he used to go near the monkey's cage, and the monkey used to keep on jumping and do like this. And this guy didn't know what it was, so he did like this or did something like this. So after some period of time, he realized the monkey had become very close to the monkey, so it became a habit for him every time to see the monkey. So he went to the shopkeeper and said, I want to buy a monkey. And this guy said, there are so many, which one you want to buy? He said, no, I want to buy that monkey only. They said, what is special about that monkey? He said, we are pals, we communicate with each other. This guy said, sir, there's no problem, I have been in monkey business for so long. I don't know monkey language fully. You say you communicate, can you tell me how you communicate? This guy said, the monkey does like this, and I do like this or do something like this. This guy said, sir, no problem, I'm in the business selling monkeys, I'll sell this monkey to you, but I want to be very frank and tell you one thing. In monkey language, this means go to hell. Now, quite often, if you look at information technology, as auditors, I think generally the IT people tend to take us for a royal ride, and we don't even know what happens. We try to do the ISA course, and after the ISA course, probably we come back. It's like this businessman came back again to the same place, thought of a plan. How do I teach this monkey a lesson? After all, this monkey, he made a fool of me. I'm going to teach this monkey a lesson. So he thought what he could do. Finally, he hit upon a plan. One day when the shopkeeper was busy, he came with two razors. One razor, he slipped it below this glass door. The second razor, he opened and kept it like this. The monkeys tend to imitate. The monkey also took the razor and took it like this. He made a mark on the glass cage. The monkey also did it on the other side. He made a mark like this, the monkey also did it. He made a mark like this, the monkey also did it. Now the businessman knew, I'm getting the monkey into the trap. I'm going to teach this monkey a lesson which he'll never forget. So he took the razor near his neck and made a mark as if he's cutting the neck. The monkey dropped the razor and did like this. Quite often, in the terms of information technology audit, I think we have done the ISA course, but if you're asked to do an IS audit, I think still we need to still catch on and see how we can do information systems audit. Now, Deepak has talked quite a lot about the technology innovations and technology changes. I would like to focus my presentation on what is it for you? What is that you can do? Now, we've been talking quite a lot about the fact that the Reserve Bank of India and there so many regulatory authorities want to make information systems audit. Now, we have got this ISA label, but can we do information systems audit? I have gone to various parts of India teaching the ISA course and also various other training programs. And quite often people tend to think, chartered accountants tend to think that because they have got this label, ISA, they should be competent enough to do IS audit. Let me tell you frankly, you have made a beginning, but I think it's very, very important that you need to get practical knowledge. And that's why it's important you know how to do information systems audit. As auditors, I think you know very, very clearly what is audit and how it is to be audited. So I do not want to get into the aspects of audit. What I would like to take you is from what you know that is about audit to connect it to what you don't know, which may be which is IT audit. So I'd like to relate what is audit, what is IT audit, and how this connect together, and also take a case study of how you can actually do audit of a bank. If you get an audit of a bank, how do you do audit of a bank? This is a bank. Now this is what I thought we should quickly cover. What is the need for IS audit? How do you define the scope, objectives of the IS audit? Now let's say you give your visiting card to your client. The client says, oh, what is this ISA? You explain, okay, you are an information systems auditor. Can you do some assignment for us? We are using an ERP package, or we are using this particular package. What is the type of services you can provide? Now, do you have an answer? Can you tell him what type of services you can provide? No, you may be able to talk, okay, in terms of, oh, we'll check the security, we'll check the confidentiality, we'll check the integrity, we'll look at the availability. Specifically, if he asks you to give a proposal, can you tell us specifically what type of assignments you can do so that we can decide what type of IS audit we want? Probably, I think we may not be able to do that. And that is the missing link which I think we need to really catch up. So we'll also look at how do we identify the scope and objectives audit, how do you do this audit, and what is the step-by-step approach. I'll share with my experience of 12 years of how I've done information systems audit and relate to you how you can also do. I firmly believe that every one of you can do information systems audit. I don't have any doubt at all. What is important is to change the thinking. We have been so far focused on the details, the substantial details, and we have been used to our audit boys doing the work and then the auditors going and signing and collecting the check, or ensuring that we go and do the signing of the check. I think in the case of information systems audit, it's very, very important that we get involved in the audit. In any information systems audit assignment, they say about 40 to 60% of the time would be spent in planning and reporting, and only 30 to 40% would be in actual execution. Whereas in a general audit, 10 to 20% would be only spent on planning and reporting, whereas 80% would be only in execution. And even execution, quite often, we as auditors, I think when we sign, I have seen an audit of an IT company which was done by one of the statutory auditors. We are doing information systems audit of that company, and we are aware of the type of control weaknesses which were there in that company. And we found the IS auditor, the auditor, general auditor, statutory auditors came in. They were there for about 1.5 months. They collected a lot of reports. The IT manager was very busy generating all the reports. And finally, one day we were told that they have already finished the audit. Now we are surprised, the auditor not even visited the computer room. They didn't know what type of hardware they're using. They didn't know what type of network they have. They didn't know what type of operating system they have, what type of database, what application, what modules, what are the functionalities in the software. Which means the auditor has signed the balance sheet just looking at the printout in the reports. I don't think that is an effective audit. So that type of audit can be categorized in the category where you say, in God we trust, rest we sign. You can't really do that. Okay? So it's very important to know how to do information systems audit, and that's what I would like to focus on. Now, why is there a need for information systems audit? You find more and more information technology becoming all pervasive. I think the previous speaker has told you quite a lot about the impact of information technology, how information technology is becoming all pervasive. It's going to be used extensively. Now the question is, information technology is being used by the business process owners for performing the business process. I remember I started my career in the bank doing the statutory audit or balance sheet audit. Now one of the first things we had to do was to trace the transaction from the destination to the origination. My boss told me, you take the balance sheet, okay, then trace it back to the original, this one. We will not do the detailed vouching, but if you got any doubt, you should ask him, okay, take the balance sheet, ask him where did the figures come from. So he'll bring a register, check whether the figures are right. So then ask him again from where did these figures come and he'll bring one more register. So like that you have to trace the transactions from the destination to the origination, or you can trace the transaction from the origination to the destination to confirm whether the transactions are correct and complete. Now the point is, in information systems audit, when the information is digital, when it's not really available to you, and what you actually have is data which is available to you in an invisible form. If you have to access data, it's important that you know how to access this information which is there in a computer form. Now if the business process owner can use computers or information technology for doing the business processes, for example, interest computation, I remember there used to be an army of clerks who were doing this interest computation in banks. There used to be a separate set of guys who were doing the balancing register. Now where do you find these guys? But still, as auditor, when I'm doing the audit, now do I completely rely that the computer is completely error-free and I don't need to really check that? Now, should I know how to check the balancing? The need for checking audit doesn't change, but what has to change is the methodology. Our audit methodology has to keep on evolving with the changing technology. And that is one fundamental paradigm shift we need to bring about in our thinking. How do we change our approach as per the changing technology? Auditors are not expected to be technology specialists. We don't expect you, just like when you buy a car, we are not expected to be an expert mechanic to repair the car. But you should know enough of the mechanism of the car to be able to use it and know when it has to be repaired and where it could be repaired, and know enough of the mechanism of the car so that the mechanic doesn't take you for a ride. Similarly, in information technology also, it's very important you know clearly what is this information technology, how it can be actually used in business processes, what are the components of information technology, and the most important factor is how can I use the same information technology as a tool. So why information systems audit is important? Because you'll find more and more it's going to become the need of the day. Now it's very important that we equip ourselves. Okay. Now talking about audits, like a professor of quality from America went to Japan, to a very prominent company which had implemented quality process quite well. And this guy said that, I would like to give you a lecture, share my knowledge about quality. And these guys organized a meeting and called all these people for a special meeting, and then discussed that they will make a presentation for 45 minutes. And the only problem was the audience didn't know English and this guy didn't know Japanese. So they solved the problem by hiring an interpreter. They said the interpreter, you speak for 15 minutes, after that the interpreter will translate in Japanese. So they agreed and this guy started. The professor of quality started talking about what is the need for quality, how quality is important, what are the quality systems, quality procedures, everything. And then after 15 minutes, the Japanese interpreter stood up, spoke for a few seconds, and then sat down. This professor was amazed, how is this guy able to translate everything I said in 15 minutes in such a short time? So again, this guy stood up and spoke about how do you implement quality in organization, what are the procedures, what are the 14 steps, all those things he went about. Again, this Japanese interpreter stood up, spoke for about a few seconds and then sat down. The professor amazed how this guy is able to do this. Finally, he went on for 15 minutes, talked about the case study on quality, how do you implement quality, everything, and finally he concluded. And the Japanese interpreter stood up, spoke for a few seconds, and he sat down under the thunderous applause. The professor was amazed. He had never got such a thunderous applause in his life for all his speeches he had made. But he was amazed how this Japanese interpreter could interpret so fast what he spoke in 15 minutes. So I got hold of this guy when he was going out and asked him, okay, can you tell me what is it? Is your language so powerful that you could speak, you could translate what I said in 15 minutes in a few seconds? I spoke for 45 seconds, but it looked like you spoke everything within 1 minute. Can you tell me what is the secret? How could you do it? And this guy said, I can share the secret provided you don't get offense. He said, okay, you go ahead, tell me what is it you did. He said, when you spoke for the first 15 minutes, I said, I stood up and said, this guy is not going to say anything new. This guy, no, this is what he said. He said, what did you say after the next 15 minutes? He said, so far he has not said anything new. Then he became more curious and asked, what did you speak after 45 minutes? He said, I was all right, let us all give him a thunderous applause. I do not want you to feel like that after my presentation, that okay, all these things we leave it. Now it's important that you need to realize, as of now, information systems audit can come from two perspectives. One is it can come from a regulatory need that, okay, the Reserve Bank of India says you need to have information systems audit for all computer branch, or it can come from management needs. You'll find if it comes as a regulatory need, it could be possible most of you may have opportunities to do that based on your qualifications. But if it comes as a management need, probably the management would look at value addition. Now in information systems audit, it is very, very important that you're able to create value addition. So one of the basic questions I always ask whenever I make this presentation is, now you've got this tax audit or company audit, any audit for that matter. If the government says that this audit is not mandatory, let's say tax audit is not mandatory or company audit is not mandatory, how many of your existing clients will come and tell you to do the audit? Why is it? Don't they perceive any value addition? You're spending so much time and effort doing the audit. Still, the clients don't want the audit, it is made optional. Now, as of now, you should remember that information systems audit is optional, it's not mandatory anywhere in the world. It's mandatory in some different ways. So if you want to do information systems audit, it's very important that you should be able to create value addition. The value addition would mean you need to have good understanding of the business process, you have good understanding of the information technology, and you have good understanding of the information systems, you have good understanding of the information controls, and based on this, you should be able to say what are the changes the management can bring about so that they can bring in value addition. That is very, very critical. If you're not able to bring in value addition, I think you'll not be able to really do information systems audit in the long run. You may do some regulatory IS audit assignment, but it will not really pay you in the long run. Now this slide, I think if you look at this particular slide, this will summarize why there's a need for information systems audit. Quite often there is a confusion that if you have technology, technology can always solve all the problems. And that's the confusion about the technology. The technology thinks that, okay, if I bought a server, if I bought, let's say I want to implement internet banking, I want to have firewall, so that will take care of it. I bought an operating system, I want to have security, I have an operating system security, so the password and the password accepted a sealed cover, that is taken care of. Or I put an IDS, that is taken care of. So you find that I have seen companies which are implementing an ERP package and there are no controls at all. I've also seen companies, auditors, who are doing audit of an ERP package, and that guy was saying that, okay, these are software which are used by Fortune 500 companies, so all the controls should be in place. I said, it's like buying a lock and thinking that I bought an expensive lock, so that should solve all my security problems. Now, it's not enough if you buy a good lock which works. It's also important that you should know where or who is going to take care of the lock. The lock is put in the right place. The keys are kept controlled properly. So generally, if you buy a good software, it doesn't mean the software has the security. So it's important that the security has to be implemented as per the needs of the business. Now this slide points out that if you talk about technology, technology can give you the answers, but to make it a solution, you need to have people who are able to implement. In fact, they say the three pillars of information technology: people, process, and technology. And the most important asset or resource which can determine whether the information technology deployment is going to be successful or not is the people. You can implement processes through technology. You can build in all the controls through technology. Now, a friend was talking earlier about the type of technology innovations are going to come in. Quite often I conducted a lot of training programs for IT professionals. And one of the questions I asked is, okay, how do you think value addition can be brought in? Do you think auditors bring in value addition? He said the best value addition can be remove the IT audit department. Because they don't perceive value addition. They say, what is that? The auditor, they say, is like the guy who comes after the battle is over and shoots the wounded. They don't perceive value addition. I think that's what is very, very important. This is where I said you need to bring one fundamental change in your approach. And that approach is you need to think from a process orientation. You need to think from a macro perspective. You should not think that you are doing this audit for the purpose of regulation. So you should be able to create value addition. That is very, very important. Now, in terms of the competencies and skills, I think we definitely have the competencies and skills. I've used quite a lot of chartered accountants for doing information systems audit. I think what they need is a little orientation of how they can go about it. And that's the missing link as of now, which has to be bridged. Now, impact of information technology and controls. As auditors, we're supposed to be control experts. In any organization, in the way information technology is implemented, auditors always have this problem of LOVE. Have you heard of this LOVE? As auditors, when I do the audit, one of the basic problems I always have is the problem of LOVE, and that is loss of visual evidence. As auditor, I was used to getting access to information, books, records, registers. Now, when I have information which is available inside the computer, then how do I access this and audit this information? And that's why I should know enough of technology to be able to audit. And that's what happens as the controls is concerned. So if you have to be a good information systems auditor,